Greetings. I've been in a relationship for 5 years, living together for 4, and married for 1. In the early years, I was still finishing my studies, and my partner spent much more than I did. I had my parents' house and chose to live with him. The additional expenses didn't matter, so we just went along with it. I received a stipend of $3,000, so I didn't need to ask for money. However, the expenses for our home and outings were all covered by him. For about a year, I didn't receive the stipend and only did odd jobs, not contributing to the household expenses. But he had a good salary, so I wasn't a burden. Remember, I had the option to stay with my parents if I wanted or needed, and we were happy. Eventually, we got married. I finished my studies and landed a very well-paying job. I'm someone who always aims to progress, grow, and has a certain ambition. Currently, it bothers me that I don't perceive the same ambition in him. To aim for something big, invest in something with a better return, take some risks. Deep down, I feel he's a bit complacent with the situation, although he explains otherwise. Investing in work, marketing, giving time to stabilize, and such. Just for the record, he works every day. I'm not sure if this feeling comes from this recent salary difference. Since I started earning more, I believe there's more potential to earn in our field same area. So, I'm expecting to see a bit of that same ambition in him. Additionally, as we're married with shared property, everything I do is ours, so I feel it should be very comforting to see your partner thriving. I know this is somewhat of my bias, because if it were the other way around, most men wouldn't care. Another thing that has bothered me is that in recent months, I lost weight, taken care of myself, and I don't see the same vanity in him. People have even commented on this difference, so it's not just in my head. I miss that because I'm starting to feel attracted to other people, and it's been bothering me. Ultimately, a part of me feels I deserve someone better. Is my self-esteem too high? So, let me ask you, am I wrong for feeling like I deserve something more?
Hello, Sai here. This one made me burst out laughing. After reading the comment section, what she wants is not a lover. She wants a business partner.
I had my parents' house and chose to live with him. The expenses for our home and outings were all covered by him. For about a year, I didn't receive the stipend, not contributing to the household expenses. But he had a good salary, so I wasn't a burden.
Yeah, you were a burden, but your husband didn't care about it. But he not caring doesn't nullify the fact that you were a leech, living at his expenses.
I had the option to stay with my parents if I wanted or needed.
And emphasizing that you had the option to return to your parents' home and decided to stay only shows your lack of empathy towards your husband and how comfortable you were in that situation.
We're married with shared property. Everything I do is ours, so I feel it should be very comforting to see your partner thriving.
Here she is uncomfortable because her partner is not thriving according to her standards. I repeat, if they separate, she will have more stuff to give because she is bringing more money to the table than he is, and it doesn't end here.
So you want to dispose of the guy who always supported you when you were down and always encouraged you just because now you're the one on top. It's already clear that love isn't something present in this relationship, just convenience on your part.
The issue isn't about convenience. What to do when admiration diminishes. Not just physical admiration, but admiration for a person's growth, their evolution. We've talked, and we've reached an impasse.
Have you talked to him about this? Maybe he'll understand your perspective and try to change. But maybe he has a different outlook on life. Either way, think carefully if it's worth throwing away these 5 years just because it's no longer convenient.
He believes he's already doing his best, and I expect more proactivity in life. Currently, we're in a terrible atmosphere since I brought up the topic, even sleeping in separate rooms. And once again, I say it's not just about finances. It's also physical and intellectual. I've always encouraged him to take care of himself, learn new things, perhaps a new language. Those things that lead to intellectual development. And I always hold on to hope. Maybe I should have had fewer expectations at the beginning of the relationship.
Admiration is something that's been put into people's heads nowadays. Is he a bad person? Has he ever mistreated you? Been aggressive? Committed any crimes? The guy simply has a more laid-back way of approaching life, and isn't the ideal man for you anymore. Wake up and understand that this hunger for money doesn't mean anything, and when it was the other way around. Did he think you had nothing to admire? Stop making things up and go appreciate what you have and what he's built alongside you. The world turns and now you earn more than him, but for the most part of your relationship, he earned much more. Your story is full of cliches, both in the account and the responses. Go ahead and find someone better in the world. Trust me.
If your boyfriend made this post, when he was the one spending everything alone, how would you respond?
I would reply that I'd go back to my parents' house and finish my studies because it was a phase. The phase has passed.
Are you the only one who have phases? The phase where the guy paid for everything doesn't count.
And I've already compensated for that previous phase with several things I paid for afterward. The point is, it's not a phase now. We're stagnant. There's no perspective for improvement or decline from either side. I didn't mention that he has a hefty inheritance coming his way in a few years that secures his retirement. I only have what I earn. If we have an issue and separate, I'll have to split the money I've saved, while the inheritance remains untouched without being divided. That's a reason I think he doesn't bother taking more risks, because his is guaranteed.
Wow, but you only think about money, Doom. He's set to inherit that money, and you think he'll just split from you once he gets it. I doubt he thinks like you. If he did, he wouldn't have supported you.
I didn't quite get it. Are you saying you deserve more money or that you want a husband who wants more money? People have different motivations in life. Your ambition is solely yours. And maybe you feel the need to have a partner who aligns with you in this aspect. But that isn't about deserving more, and fulfilling this need isn't your partner's obligation. It seems more like wanting someone different from who your husband currently is, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with him. It's just that you've taken different paths. That's how I see it from your post. It seemed a bit unfair toward him since this isn't a problem, just a normal divergence. Am I getting it right? I feel sorry for him. Because that's a sad reason to end a 5-year relationship where there seemed to be support and growth in other aspects beyond material things. But everyone knows their needs within a relationship, and you have all the information. Maybe you're fed up anyway. And this is just an excuse to end things. I think he might also be getting fed up with you in other aspects. It's complicated to judge relationships, but I hope your situation gets resolved.
Unfortunately, the sex appeal isn't the same either. But I didn't think about breaking up. I just wanted to figure this out in my head. It's not about deserving more money. Actually, the word deserve was poorly used. The question should be whether I should look for someone more in tune with me in these aspects.
Having someone more aligned is important, indeed. Especially if that aspect is relevant to you. It's great that you can feel grateful for all the support he's given you, and for what you've experienced together. But you shouldn't feel obligated to stay with him for that. I labeled you as kind of rude, because I think your description of the situation made it seem like it was very tied to money, and that his lack of ambition is the problem. But I think the issue isn't just that, right? It's really nice when we're in sync with each other. Regarding personal or material growth, if that's the case, I recommend gratitude for these 5 years and staying in this relationship. Only if you truly desire to. You're not obliged to stay. Maybe it's a problem that can be resolved. But it's up to you and him to know that and to be willing to put in the effort for the relationship.
So many women dealing with men who are completely terrible, causing psychological terror, who haven't even studied or worked and still have an income, and you want to point out lack of ambition in your partner. Frankly, your problems reach the point of being enthusiastic. You, like many women disconnected from reality, act like petty little girls constantly trying to break the loyalty that someone once offered. Go meet real people, spoiled girl.
I understand, but it's because I know my worth. I've been in some really bad relationships, but I've evolved over time, and now I'm in the best phase of my life, striving to be as close to the whole package as possible. I study a lot, work, improve myself, take care of my appearance, try to be a pleasant and interesting person. It may seem like I'm boasting, but that's not the case. I've had a lot of self-esteem issues, and after a lot of personal development, Now I know exactly what I have to offer. So, I feel entitled to expect that from someone else as well. I wouldn't get involved with someone with so many problems like that who doesn't work, is abusive, etc., because, in the end, it's a matter of choice.
The thing is, you're unfairly placing your material desires and expectations about life onto your partner who doesn't owe you anything regarding ambition. What struck me most in your account was the emphasis you placed on an aspect that's so pragmatic given the subject. People nowadays have much more destabilizing and complicated problems than yours. And it sincerely seems to me that you're searching for problems where there aren't any, trying to justify a dissatisfaction that goes far beyond the material issue, which in itself is already petty. I'm also a woman, and no matter how much you detail your relationship history, I'll never accept someone putting material things ahead of relationships, whether they're a woman or a man. That's why I'm sorry, but I'll never understand your complaint.
You've said it all. The op seems to be looking for a mere checklist of characteristics that someone must meet, rather than seeking a person she enjoys having around and who is a true partner.
This is one of the outcomes of the superficial world we live in today. People sometimes choose partners based solely on beauty, other times they validate themselves exclusively through material possessions. And I say, this is rotten, and that's why so many people are suffering. They'd rather choose everything but compatibility and character. People like that deserve to mess up.
That's exactly what I'm trying to explain. The original post was poorly worded. It's not just about material things. It's also about physical and intellectual attraction. That's part of admiration, and admiration generates attraction. Love seems to have become more fraternal lately. Everyone has their own problems, right? I've had much more serious issues than this, but I didn't discuss them in an anonymous post. This subreddit is open for discussion. It's not meant to solve the world's most serious problems, and there's no severity criterion for posting here. When I had a tumor, I didn't come to share it here, but today, I'm here because of this specific problem. Because I know there might be helpful comments, as there have been. There's no need to belittle my problem just because you don't understand, but I appreciate your comment.
And now that you're married, you come here to complain? I'm sorry, but that worsens the situation, which is already in decline due to your insistence on material possessions above the love necessary for a relationship. And like every woman in the 21st century, you don't disappoint when it comes to playing the game of who has more pain. Your self-reference doesn't impress me, as you, like many others, seem to enjoy magnifying problems that could be completely resolved through communication between adults. But like most, you use social media to complain about a minor detail of your life circumstances. As I wrote, I'm not interested in your entire history of life's pains because everyone struggles, and that's not exclusive to anyone. However, coming here and commenting in a hysterical manner opens the door for everyone to argue against what the dictionary defines as pettiness. You should feel fortunate to have a man who likes you, respects you, doesn't humiliate nor abuses you. But you prefer to complain about material issues that affect you. It's disconcerting to read how there are people so unaware.
I'm not disconnected from reality, and I'm not a little girl. I've met and gotten involved with all kinds of people. Currently, I afford myself the right to choose because I can. I don't currently depend on anyone, and I don't have anyone spoiling me. I don't understand why my comment sparks so much anger in you. Just because I mentioned that I know my worth? Nowadays, women can't have self-esteem and have to settle for whatever comes their way, right? Those real people. If that's your case, it's your problem. To accuse someone of lacking loyalty is an extremely rash judgment based solely on this post.
Firstly, acting as a woman is something far beyond age or societal status as a self-provider. Girls don't go around internet posts complaining about trivial matters. They take action, communicate assertively, work on their virtues and values. Until you communicate and act with credibility, you'll be called a girl wherever you go. Our value will never walk hand in hand with material possessions because otherwise, we would never see so many outrageously rich and unhappy individuals out there. Having high self-esteem is much more than wanting a man who meets your financial standards. However, you're not yet ready to understand that because you live like most people in a state of character liquidity. Grow up, girl. It's incredibly disorienting for many men to read your discourse. So unaware of what people in the real world go through.
Look, I'm going to disregard your comment because you're speaking as if you know my soul and character based on a post. You must have some unresolved issues related to these matters, and that's why you're venting in such a way towards people you don't know. You tried to sound fancy but ended up making commonplace generalizations and spelling mistakes. Just because I'm seeking opinions here doesn't mean I have communication issues, because those problems have been exhaustively discussed, just so you know. Unfortunately, I've reached an impasse.
Typical of people with a poor argumentation, ha ha ha.
Look, you've made a lot of assumptions and arrived at your biased conclusions. You've done your little show of pseudo-psychology. Stop wasting your time throwing stones at others on Reddit. What do you gain from it? This is all anonymous. Do you just want to feel right for yourself? You didn't need to unload your emotional baggage onto a stranger. Peace out.
Again, you acting like a child, resort to your grievances, and like most girls, you demonstrate that you can't discuss ideas without making it personal. Like you, there are several people who use the same speech as yours. You're not unique and far from being the first to come complaining about life's details as if it were a relevant issue. What I gain from logical argumentation and maximum grammatical correctness is hoping for fewer annoying and disconnected from reality individuals like you in this world.
Okay. What the hell was that discussion? More on that later. But here in the comments section, she makes it evident that she is only worried about money.
I didn't mention that he has a hefty inheritance coming his way in a few years that secures his retirement. If we have an issue and separate, I'll have to split the money I've saved, while the inheritance remains untouched without being divided.
This is so ridiculous. Here is when I started to not take her seriously. She's not only already thinking about finances after a who knows if it will happen divorce, but she is also killing someone on his family and adding his inheritance to the mix. Girl, what the fuck is wrong with you?
There's no perspective for improvement or decline from either side.
And why is this a bad thing? Being stable is not a problem. It's a luxury. Sitting down and enjoying what you already accomplished is a luxury that many desire. This is just another white people's problem, suffering from success after being spoiled by the husband that supported and allowed her to be where she is today. And she just can't see that. She believes that she did her part, but doesn't mention what she did. She just wants more.
We're in a terrible atmosphere since I brought up the topic, even sleeping in separate rooms.
This is so theatrical. I only saw this in TV and can't believe that people actually sleep in different beds when they are mad at each other. This is so ridiculous. Sit down and talk like adults. How can you marry someone if you can't discuss with them in a healthy manner? Not to mention that he doesn't deserve to sleep on the couch after supporting your ass and taking care of the whole house expenses alone for a year.
I don't currently depend on anyone, and I don't have anyone spoiling me.
Yes, girl, precisely. While she was arguing with the commenter, I noticed some narcissistic traces on her. I'm not a specialist on the matter, and I'm definitely not diagnosing her. She could also be just another entitled girl, demanding the whole world to attend to her wishes. But the way that she is trying to dominate the discussion and change the narrative was quite triggering.
I don't understand why my comment sparked so much anger in you.
She is the one that got triggered after receiving over 100 comments saying that she is a horrible person and decided to engage on an argument with this person saying things like,
Look, I'm going to disregard your comment. You must have some unresolved issues. You tried to sound fancy but ended up making commonplace generalizations and spelling mistakes. You must have some unresolved issues related to these matters, and that's why you're venting in such a way towards people you don't know.
Excuse me for a second, guys. Hello Google Images. Do you know what psychological projection is?
Psychological projection is a defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or motives to another person. In doing so, they defend themselves against their own unconscious impulses or qualities by denying their existence in themselves and attributing them. An example would be a student who didn't study for an exam might claim that the teacher failed to teach the material properly, or when an employee who frequently talks about others might accuse colleagues of spreading rumors about them.
Or when a spoiled brat who is called out on her bullshit flips out and say that people are angry venting out towards strangers in the internet, as I always put in the description. This is translated from the Brazilian version of AITA, so you cannot see that the one who was actually making spelling mistakes was her. I would make screenshots to display them here. But she deleted the post and I wonder why. But what about you? Do you think like her, or did you get triggered like I did? Tell me in the comments. I can't wait to see what you have to say.